Hello Evertonians and welcome to this latest edition of the All Together Now podcast. I'm Tony Scott. I'm joined by the three wise men from West Derby, Gavin Buckland, Greg O'Keefe and David Hughes. Lots to discuss on this week's episode. We'll get David and Gav's reaction to the Chelsea victory. Me and Greg have had our pennies worth last week, haven't we? Indeed. We'll get the thoughts of the runners and riders for their vacant managerial position at Everton Football Club. Interesting debate with a certain David Moyes. I'm sure that will come to the fore. We'll get Moshiri Brands and Ken Wright. Well, I'm sure they will be involved in this week's podcast. We'll get their involvement on them.
Are they coming up?
No, we'll get our reaction to them, by the way.
Global exclusive on the phone.
On the phone. And the Manchester United preview,
Hello,
of course. David, Gav, we'll get your reaction straight away to Chelsea on Saturday. You weren't there, were you there in spirit?
I actually wasn't there in spirit, didn't follow the game at all.
Didn't you know?
No, until afterwards. So I'm not qualified to talk about it, obviously. No, what I would say about his general terms in terms of the result, it was a great result for us in terms of buying some time. And I think Duncan ticked every box there was on the day and more than that as well. I mean, I felt before the game that the players hadn't down tools under Silva, and you know when players do that and the new manager comes in, you get that new manager bounce, that horrible phrase. And I suspect on Saturday that might not happen because actually the players hadn't down tools under Silva. I thought that you might just get the same as what we had against say Leicester perhaps, but actually we did get a performance that was influenced positively by the new manager, and I was very, very surprised but very happy about it. So no complaints from me, and Duncan was about 10 on 10 performance, wasn't it really? I don't think he could have done much more before and after the game and during it.
David, you were in the heart of the Gladys Street. What was it like?
Yeah, it felt like a blast from the past in terms of actually enjoying a game, and it was just a perfect afternoon really. Just on Ferguson, with Gav mentioned him, I actually think, I know he got a lot of plaudits, but it was a lot more of kind of pats on the head, no passion type stuff, and I think he was very shrewd, not just in the tactics that he deployed on the day, but in the build-up to the game. I know he only had a day or so, but his pre-match notes and just things he was saying in the media, he was using all the right buzzwords, talking about commitment and passion and playing for the shirt, and just those things of sending the message to the players of this is what you need to do to have a good game this Saturday, and obviously they delivered. So it was good, great afternoon in fact.
Greg, on Duncan Ferguson, we'll speak about him obviously for the managerial position. Yeah. Do you think he's give Everton a bit of a problem in terms of looking at the managerial post?
No, I don't think he's given them a problem. I think if anything he's given them a little bit of leeway to take their time and get the appointment as right as they can get it, because he's made it clear that he doesn't want to become the permanent manager. Had he done what Unsworth did in 2018 and come in as caretaker, but with making it clear that he was a contender, or he wanted to be considered a contender, then I think that's what you were getting at. He had thrown a spanner into the works, but Duncan's short-term aim is to just have more involvement in the first team coaching setup. I think he had limited involvement under Marco Silva, wasn't really allowed to do anything meaningful with the first team. Anything he did do had to be on his own bat after hours with the strikers, but around match days he was very much restricted to almost like a menial role. So I think he just wants, he's spoken about positioning himself as an assistant, and in the long term obviously he makes no bones about wanting to be the Everton manager. But I think reading between the lines, and he's actually said at his first press conference, albeit before Chelsea, that's not in his aim. So he's given them, I think what happened on Saturday has given them time, and therefore it's a plus.
Don't you think though, if you get the results on Sunday, then things start to change?
Well, they will start to change inevitably in terms of the traction that getting 2 wins against 2 top sides will inevitably get some people saying, when they look around at the sort of scarcity of options and managers that they really want, they might go, well, this person gets the club for what that is worth in the sort of the hit list of a new manager, and he's got maybe a bit of a winning touch. The players are behind him, but long term, even if he wins on Sunday, which I think is going to be a tall order, but we'll talk about that later. Long term, he's still very, very inexperienced. So you're talking about transfer, recruitment, January, the summer. Now I know you've got Marcel Brands, you might say, but I still think his position will be that he doesn't want the job anyway. If you're telling me if we're throwing it forward to getting a result, i.e. a draw on Sunday, and then getting through in the quarter-final against Leicester, all bets are going to be off then.
Yeah. David, Everton, I've just asked out the same question goes to you. If they do get a result on Sunday and get through in the quarter-finals, I think it's going to make it really difficult not to give him more time in the hot seat, surely?
No, I wouldn't.
No?
No, no. I think he's still a long way from being at that level. Yeah, I think that would be a mistake, to be honest. I know Gav was playing it down a little bit, but my opinion is that he is on this kind of bounce as a new manager. I think that could go into the next few games, but after that, once that wears off, I think there'd be big problems. So listen, Sunday, hopefully, if he goes on the correct pathway to becoming a really good top level manager, it'd be great to see him in the dugout, but that would be a big mistake in my opinion.
Gav, do you agree with the lads?
Just out of interest, when you say there'll be big problems, what do you mean?
Well, I just think the wheels would fall off again very quickly
Because
I don't think he'd be able to manage them to an efficient level.
Yeah, my opinion of it is, I think it's just take each game as it comes.
Cliches everywhere.
I think where it does cause the club a problem now is, and as Greg was saying, there's no desire perhaps at this stage to be permanent manager, is if a new manager comes in, what do they do with Duncan? Now, if you come in and he's there and you say, well, actually, I brought my own team and I want a new start here, woe betide the new Everton manager who decides to sack Duncan Ferguson for a start, and then the opposite of that is, if he's there on Ferguson sitting on the bench and the team play poorly, you can imagine the sort of chance that are going to be from the bench to the bench from the crowd.
Sorry, Gav, to interrupt. It did happen at Liverpool when Odgson was going through a bad time and Dalglish was in the stands, and the cop ended up singing Dalglish.
Yeah, that's sitting in the stands, but imagine sitting on the bench. It's the type of thing that, like, say, Klopp and Gerrard would like to avoid, and so I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic if a new manager comes in, how they treat Ferguson.
That's a really good point.
And it that's where but we don't know how it's going to end this day, so they could all fall apart, and then it's a slightly different conversation. But say if he does retain his reputation and stays, that's a problem for the manager. And to be fair, 6'4" wouldn't fancy that.
No chance. Just 6 man. Look, I've said I completely agree. Most foreign, maybe generalising a little bit, but a lot of foreign coaches who come in, they move with their coaching staff as like a team, a unit, don't they? Marco Silva did it, Martinez did it. So who's to say that the new coach, if he were from outside the country, would come in, would want Ferguson as his number 2?
Do you think they get a choice?
Well, this is the thing.
Because he's outstayed.
It depends what they negotiate.
Moyes, Martinez, Allardyce, Koeman, Silva.
It's a very difficult one, really. And and say we had hired Nigel Pearson, then it might be different. I'm speculating. They might go, well, all right, we'll work with Duncan. But the Portuguese unit that came in with Silva were very tight knit. They were often like conferring Portuguese and have meetings and obviously lead it in their native language, and Ferguson was a bit of an outsider. Like I say, it might not be the same for you might get a German team come in who all speak brilliant English and what have you, and it should be interesting because it really is a dilemma. You'd have to make a case for him to be like an assistant, because David will probably know more. How many managers now come on their own? I don't think there's many who just come as a single individual, are there?
No, it does tend to be a team. Obviously, Mourinho went to Spurs, didn't he? And he took quite a few players from coaches from, I think, somewhere like Valencia or something, or a few weeks ago. So they do tend to have a team that they want around them. But I assume that's in the negotiation process.
Brands will probably have some input into that, because Ferguson did really well, and Brands as director of football, he might be thinking, well, I need a bit of continuity here, and actually, I'm looking down the line. If Duncan shows what he's capable of. He could be a future manager here, so keep him at the club. So it's a balance in that, but I do think that at some point there's going to be a difficult conversation within the club about it.
Definitely, but what Tony said at the top of it about, when the Dalglish comparison, however popular this new manager is able to make himself, he's not going to be as popular as Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah.
They were playing. Duncan was the manager who had his own song before the game on Saturday and after. And it was absolutely bouncing. How many managers have got their own song?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
It'd be like, imagine Gerrard was interim manager of Liverpool, and then they appointed a coach no one's heard of. And you say
pressure's on
the results start to go a bit awry, and
so
it's going to be very interesting.
That'll be. Maybe we should get Roy Hodgson and just be able to deal with it, wouldn't he?
Definitely. On the flip side, sorry, before we move on from Ferguson, I hope that if we lose on Sunday, which Everton would be not entitled, not the right word, but it would be entirely feasible, given the fact that you're not at Goodison, so you can't harness the Goodison factor. The bigger pitch. The injuries aren't going to get any better. United are on a bit of an upward curve. I hope if we lose, no one, I'm sure they wouldn't, but no one turns or starts to say, he was crap anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no slight on his ability or potential as a coach.
No, I think people understand the position he's been put in. So
most normal people.
Definitely. Well, let's look at the runners and riders for the Everton managerial post. We'll start at the bottom. Rafa Benitez, 25-1. He made it quite clear he would be interested in the job on Monday Night Football with Jamie Carragher. He says he would be interested in it. Whether Everton are willing to pay him the $55,000 a day that he's on at China.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. It's 10 or less than Gav, I think. He's 25-1 for the reason I can't see that one happening. Niko Kovac, Greg's mate. Got a lovely story to tell us, haven't you, Greg?
I think you're going to tell it for me,
no? No. Well, you've got a bit of an exclusive, haven't you?
It's an old exclusive. It's not really an exclusive.
He was at the match.
It's more how we cross paths.
He was at the match on Saturday, wasn't he?
Yeah, you've heard of the journalistic concept of doorstepping someone. Well, I sort of like bog stepped him. Nico, to his mates, was using the loo at half time in Goodison, and I was as well. Not the same loo, but we were waiting to use the toilet, and I just got talking to him. Couldn't believe my luck, really, given that he'd been all over Twitter before kick-off.
No selfie, no?
No selfie. No. And I just got talking to him and was just saying, basically, like, why are you here? Are you going to be our next manager? He was great. He wasn't here to be our next manager. He hadn't been interviewed, he said, but he is doing a bit of a sightseeing tour of English football, really, with his brother was there, he was part of his staff, I think, his agent and a couple of other friends. He was there to watch our game, the Manc derby later that day, and then his mate Slaven Bilic, West Brom, Swansea the following day. I think they battered Swansea 5-1, and he said he's really interested in coming to coach in the Premier League, and Everton, he believes, is a top 8 team. So
interesting.
There you go. So
it was great watching that when all rumours started flying around on social media. I was looking at the betting, and he was like 50-1, and the next minute he was like 6-4 second favourite.
Unbelievable.
Within the space of like one photo going out on social media. Book Hughes must have been laughing.
Standard that though, isn't
it? Can I just say he had a wonderful coat. As managerial coach.
I was going to say something else. Alright, Greg. Got a new mate, haven't we?
The joke there about sheepskin, but I won't go there.
Starby's getting dragged through the guts.
It is.
Unbelievable.
Which brings us on to Unai Emery. Was talked about a couple of weeks ago, Greg, but it doesn't look like anything will happen with that one, does it?
It doesn't, no. He has indicated he'd be interested. And I think Everton has sort of, from what I understand, left him hanging a little bit. There was initial talks in London, and it hasn't gone any further. They've been having talks with managers left, right and centre, and he met, as I say, down there he met with Ken Wright and Mashiri. I think his preference is to have a bit of a break, but if Everton came on strong, it'd give him pause for thought by all accounts.
Well, there's one for you, Gav. What I'm trying to say, if he comes on the scene all of a sudden, because he's failed at Arsenal, would it put you off him? Because he's failed at another club, would it put you off him?
Consecutive Europa Leagues, by the way, in 3 seasons. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's done brilliant. Because he's had one failure at an English club, would it put you off?
Not necessarily. He's got the Premier League experience. He's got experience of managing Europe and managing La Liga. I mean,
failed miserably at Arsenal, though, didn't he? It was poor.
Got the Europa League final last year, didn't he?
Again, yeah.
So I'm not so sure. I wouldn't rule him out. It'd be probably better for the experience. The thing I've got about him is that he just didn't fix that defence, did he?
No.
That's the concern. That's the concern I've got in terms of like his ability to rebuild, is that he didn't fix the defence. And he's just had another bit. You mentioned Slaven Bilic there. I've not heard Slaven Bilic as a former player mentioned at any point.
No, we can't have him.
He was in the odds then on your phone.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Why
he's
not?
33-1.
Why not?
He's doing okay at West Brom, isn't he? He struggled at West Ham.
No, he didn't. Got him into Europe.
Yeah, and then they took an Idens left, right and centre. At West Ham as well.
All managers have had the sack at some point in their career, haven't they? You know, so I'm just, as a former player, and he's charismatic and all that type of stuff, high profile. I'm surprised that he's not had a higher sort of profile within this, to be fair.
Well, Unai Emery excited, David, or would us
I'd be disappointed in that
his record at Arsenal?
only because I do agree everything pre-Premier League was impressive, albeit he didn't win the Ligue 1 with PSG one year, which is quite a hard feat to achieve.
Yeah, what to not do it.
Yeah. But what really put me off is I just didn't like how it turned at Arsenal, in the sense that I felt like he lost the key kind of staples of his philosophy, if he had one. It all got very muddled up in the end, and I felt like he just needed to just kind of stick with the philosophy he had in place. He didn't, and it become very messy, like changes at half time, chopping, changing formations 3 or 4 times in a game. It screamed to me a man that didn't really know what he was doing anymore.
Did he miss his sidekick? Is it Monchi, is it? The guy who was with him?
He was his director of football.
Yeah.
But possibly, yeah.
I say I'm not writing him off as a good manager, and he could even come back to England and still be a good manager, but for me right now, I wouldn't like to see him.
Yeah, I think the other thing about Emery, which goes back to Ferguson, it's this thing, isn't it, now, where it's actually, especially if you're not going to win trophies season by season, that you've got to have your manager who can connect with the spectators.
Yeah,
that they can associate with them, and they're all as one collectively. Which
is that important?
Yeah, I think it's very important these days. Yeah,
huge.
If you're not delivering trophies, you've got to try and connect with your fans. And I think there's a realisation with football now that the easiest way to do that as a club is have a manager who can connect with the fans.
Do you think that's what's bought Klopp 3 years before he's actually won silverware?
I'm not sure about that, because he had a big job there, but it certainly helps you. Probably buys you time, as you say. And it helps you bed in, but I think that's enormously important now. You see, like Emery, obviously that was one of his problems at Arsenal, wasn't it? And I'd say for all his good work in Spain, and I wouldn't throw the Arsenal thing out. That's why I wouldn't. It's the old thing, isn't it? A manager is the complete opposite of the one that's gone before, and like Silva didn't really have that connection because of the language type stuff, and that he was a bit quiet, and so you wouldn't really. Why would you get Emery on the back of that? And I think
he's bland, isn't he? And he's not. If he's talking to you in the dressing room and he's trying to get you going, he's not.
It's the language thing, isn't it? You know, so I'd rule him out on that basis as well, but I wouldn't say he's not a bad manager. You know,
plus you don't want a manager to come in and be swimming upstream straight away with the fans, do you? Like trying to if he went 3 or 4 games without a win, even in the second half of the season, if he come in, he'd be under pressure straight away.
Yeah, there's one for you. We spoke about it at half time I think during the game. You're going to need a manager that obviously plays good football. You want a manager who gets results straight away, because that's what we desperately need. We're still in an half decent position, but only 3 points better off than last week. And you need someone who gets the fans. What's the priority out of them 3?
Plays good football, gets the fans. What's the
results straight away?
I think they're all different policies at different stages.
So this is where Marcel Brands has got it. This is what I'm trying to say. It's so difficult to get managers that tick every box.
Yeah,
at the moment. What ones do Everton actually go for?
Some not naturally follow other. If you get results, then you probably get the fans backing. Wouldn't you? Some of them are interconnected, aren't they?
Not necessarily. You'll probably get a couple of results, and then
if it helps you, doesn't it? You know.
Well, Koeman got a couple of results early on, but he never got the football club. So in the main, he struggled.
But in the first instance, it helps, doesn't it? I think you've got to get results first of all, haven't you?
Yeah. I think the fans were behind Koeman after that first season. Weren't they? Thought he was the next.
But there was still always fans that would say, "Hang on, he's just basically read a stepping stone here for Barcelona." Everyone knew that he didn't get the club. He was that type of character. He was never at Finch Farm. He was playing golf in Portugal and Spain, wasn't he?
I think towards certainly that second summer, it became more apparent that those things were true. And when he was talking about players like Lukaku and why they moving on would be maybe the best for their careers and stuff like that, he totally undermined his position. But that first season, I think the fans were bought into him big time, didn't they?
What do you think? We spoke about Duncan Ferguson. There's been a piece online today about David Moyes saying he's the best Everton can get at the moment. Got my blood boiling, got Greg's boiling, David likewise. But Gav made an interesting point before saying it could be true. It is the
the difference between there's a difference between best you can get and your options available at the time. Well, you've only got to look at that betting list there, haven't you? You've got 6 names on it.
David Moyes is the worst on that list.
But you've just poo-pooed the first. You've certainly...
I'd have Benitez, Kovac, Emery, Ferguson before Moyes.
Yeah, but how many of them are going to come? We've said that Emery's probably
Benitez would come if you offered them money. Emery would come.
No, but in terms of the club would recruit them and they would want to come to Everton. At this very stage in their career, so they would want to come to Everton now. And the club would want them. So Benitez, I don't think the club would have him.
There's 2 people at the club that won't have him.
Yeah, but I just get the impression that that ship has sailed. Kovac, I would imagine, will go elsewhere. Emery, we've just written off. Then you're left with 3 names: Ancelotti, Moyes, Ferguson. Is that your top 6 in the betting?
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact that you fifth on the betting is 25-1 indicates that it's down to those 4. But Emery, not so sure. And that leaves you with 3 names. We've not spoken about Ancelotti, who wouldn't have for the big clock.
We'll speak about him in a minute.
Yeah, so you've got Moyes and Ferguson, and we've just ruled Ferguson out. So all roads point to Moyes. Just saying.
That was like one of those explainer videos, wasn't it?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Deal with it.
That is effectively...
39,000 people walking
That
up
is
the stadium.
effectively what the article was saying, wasn't it? And I'm not saying that's right, and Moyes is the best manager we can get at the moment. But what I'm saying is in terms of where the club is at the moment and the managers that are available, the managers who want to come to Goodison and the managers that the Goodison hierarchy would want as well, there's not many of them around.
Moyes wouldn't look out of place in the Championship at the moment. He hasn't managed since 2018. 18.
I'm not saying that he's the
West
best
Ham.
option.
He took Sunderland down. He fails at Real Sociedad. He fails at Man United.
Yeah, but
he's an has-been. We're not getting the David Moyes back from 15 years ago.
Have I said to you, David, I would want David Moyes as manager? I've not said that at all. I've said of all the options that are available to us there, they're the 6, which is the most likeliest option for Everton Football Club at the moment. And once you've excluded...
Most likely option, would you have him? If you're on that board, would you employ him?
If there was other options available, no.
Good lad. I knew I'd get it.
Because it's a backward step, and I think Moyes has done his time now. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what are the options as we sit here in the middle of December, and actually there's not that many options. If you want an interim manager, say
don't.
I'm just saying, telling you now.
Greg, bail me out, help me out here.
I think
I'm drowning.
I think we are in danger of sort of focusing too much on the bookies odds, and what I hope passionately
they can fluctuate like there's not. We seen it half time last week. They can fluctuate.
What I suspect and hope is that Marcel Brands, I hope that Marcel Brands, let's say the director of football, has got a couple of names up his well booted and suited sleeve that may surprise us yet, and the bookmakers don't dictate who's going to be Everton's next manager. Brands and maybe Mashiri, and hopefully not super agents do. And we might be surprised yet. That's what I hope. David, what do you reckon on Moyes?
Come on.
Couldn't we moved on for me?
No. You haven't had your pennies worth on him.
I mean, no, I have listened. He's not. He is not for me an option. I just don't think he should be. I think the game has changed. He's been out for too long. I think it's really hard to come back to this level when you've been out for as long as he has, and if you take away everything he did at Everton, if you look at his CV, United lasted 9 months. I'd like to think at least 3/4 of the Premier League managers, no matter what you think of them, would outstay a year at Old Trafford. To try to get sacked in that time is a lot. And okay, United were a mess, and we've seen that since, but it still takes some doing to go that quick. Then you've got, obviously he's gone to Sociedad, failed, Sunderland failed, West Ham. okay, he didn't fail as such, but the club had seen enough to say no, we don't want to keep him as our manager. I think the fact that he hasn't got a job anywhere else, he's quite clearly looking for the job, says that Everton should stay clear.
One thing I will say, in the interest of balance, is that if we'd lost on Saturday and you consider the prospect that we're in a genuine relegation fight as an interim option until the end of the season, I think you can make some logical arguments for David Moyes, because he comes in and he keeps you up. I think he would keep Everton up.
Does he go?
Yeah, I think he would. I think
he's relegated to Sunderland.
Well, they were in a mess anyway.
So he's taken over a mess at Everton.
So I think, I must applaud, after the United failure, I must applaud him being brave enough to take Sociedad, which was a difficult one, and that failed. And then Sunderland was certainly not his finest hour.
Took over Big Sam.
Yep, but what I'm saying is, I believe, had situation got that bad, and maybe we might feel it's that bad again in a couple of games' time. I feel he would come in and I think he'd guaranteed to keep you up. Would I want him as a permanent manager? Absolutely not. And I think the concern is, if you brought him in as an interim, you may well end up getting him as your permanent manager anyway, which is why it's a no for me, Sam.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was hard done by Man United, for the record, but that's for you can't win sometimes at Moyes, because if he comes in and it doesn't work, you're thinking,
he took over the league champions.
He succeeded Alex Ferguson, didn't he?
Yeah, but he still took over the league champions.
But they were a mess in 2013-14.
Yeah, but he still took over the league champions, Gav. And bought garbage.
That's what
I'm
saying.
At least I think it was a bit of both sides.
He got. Well, the elective. I don't know how to talk about Moyes, but he got hard done by. What I would say, going back to my point, is I think if he comes in and does a bad job, then it hasn't worked. If he comes in and does a good job, you're left with him as permanent manager, which you don't want either.
Yeah.
So in either way,
avoid it like the play.
What about the eyebrow?
You've got to talk
about the eyebrow now.
Yeah.
Just briefly, I think fans would take to Davy Moyes.
We got
don't have to say anything. I think
not meant 99% of Everton fans don't want him.
I could see why people don't want Moyes as manager on a personal level, that shall we say. And I was a massive fan of his as Everton manager, but I can see some of the things that happened afterwards why people take it,
former manager, and let's hope he stays the former manager. Now Greg's really itching to talk about the eyebrow, Carlo Ancelotti. Does he tick every box in the Greg O'Keefe household?
Greg O'Keefe household? Yes, 90%.
Oh, yes. What's the 10?
By the way, I haven't forgotten the quote from Gav before it, because we have to go to Gav.
Oh yeah, we'll go
his
to
opinion's better than that.
No, we'll get to those first.
One for a big clock.
Yeah.
Yes, he, in so many ways, right, he is what Everton kind of require to put them in the ranking of like a big contemporary club. He's a massive name. He's had a hugely stellar, successful CV. He's a manager who adaptable tactically, as David's piece that I tweeted out earlier, well worth a read on him and what he would bring. He's had success in the Premier League, he's had success in Spain, success in Bundesliga.
Yeah.
He's got it. He's still relatively, he's only 60 odd, by the way. So he's not like some of the managers out there. But at the current environment at Everton, if you accept that we've got a director of football and the sort of like trying to be a bit more prudent in the transfer stakes and the players he inherits, is he one who would come in and want to spend an absolute fortune? And is he one who's used to coming in and succeeding at clubs that have already got an amazing squad? Like Chelsea, when he won the league, he came in, they had a top squad, didn't they? There's a big contrast between what he inherited there and what he would be walking into at Finch Farm, in my opinion. However, out of that list, it's Ancelotti all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Before David's going to back us up, but
well,
I think he is. He's a good lad.
He's got a clock.
If someone's got a big clock, Gav's not going to have him. Come on, Gav. Why shouldn't Everton have Carlo Ancelotti as their manager?
Carlo Ancelotti, where do you want me to start?
He's got a list.
I think, well, first of all, you talk about Moyes being on the decline. Carlo Ancelotti's on the decline.
He's just got Napoli in the last 16 of the Champions League last night.
But compared to some and he's been sacked. I mean, problems off the pitch. I don't care what problem. I'm
worried about what's going on the pitch.
But that's a part of the wider thing. It's a wider thing. That's the first thing. So I think he's been a top manager for 15 years. I think you get very limited time to be a manager at the top, and then Ancelotti's reached the end. The first thing. The second thing is, we need what's our philosophy, we think, for as a club going forward. Bear in mind, we haven't got a lot of money to spend over the next couple of years. It's the brand's philosophy of buying younger players, developing them and selling them on, and doing that cycle. And I don't think Ancelotti is a manager that can deliver that. And that's the second thing. And the third thing is, I just don't think he's used to managing a club at Everton's level in his peak years since early 2000s. So throw those three things in. It's not for me. And I mean, I don't know how. I'd like to see Brand's reaction if somebody, Mashiri, come and said, "Oh, we've got Carlo Ancelotti." Brands and Ancelotti to me don't exactly.
Why is that?
Different football philosophies.
Because so?
What Brands wants out of football and what his remit as director of football is completely different to Ancelotti, who's a manager of megastars, who is light touch and gets them to play in the big games.
Don't you think what's happened in the summer in the transfer market, Brands' remit's changed? Because now all of a sudden fans are now questioning Brands and what's happened. So there's pressure on him now to deliver. So if I was Brands, I go, I need to start looking at a manager that's going to get results straight away, not the sell-on value of players. If you get me.
Yeah, but it's whether Ancelotti is the manager to get results straight away, though, isn't it?
Well, the CV says so.
Well, yeah, but you say that Emery is, Ancelotti at Naples and Bayern Munich sacked. Emery sacked at Arsenal, and he's got a great CV before Arsenal. So I mean, it doesn't appear to be a natural fit Ancelotti for me to club where we are.
Okay.
And
Gav's not having the eyebrow. Is David Hughes having the eyebrow?
So,
come on, back me up.
2 weeks ago, if we were to have this conversation, I would have said no. And hear me out.
Ooh.
It's similar to the points that Gav's trying to make, basically, is that for me, Everton should be first trying to identify a philosophy. They should have a style of football. They should be laying the foundations to bring in a manager to build a legacy. So initially Everton won't be competing, so they'll need to lay those foundations, build each season as a side, bring in the players that he needs to play in this certain way, and from there hopefully build a side that they can compete at the top of the table. Having seen the mess that is the Everton hierarchy over the past few weeks and the managers they've been getting linked with, and legitimate links as well, for example Pereira, I think that would have been an absolute disaster, but it seems like they were interested. Having seen all this, now I'm of the opinion of, well, they're not going to do the stuff they should be doing in terms of building for the future. So I'd rather they go and get a decent manager who is Ancelotti, because he is, there's no disrespect to him because he's a 3 times Champions League winner, but he's the best option in terms of that short-term manager, which I don't think this is ideal at all, but no. I'm of the opinion now that clearly Everton aren't going to do what they should be doing, and on that basis, if they're going to go down this route, Ancelotti's probably the best man.
So do you think they've just ripped it up now, Everton?
I don't think they've ripped it up. I don't think they're not capable. I think Everton's board, the way it is at the moment with Mashiri, he wants to be involved. He's not, which I get. He's put the money in, but he's not prepared to sit back and let the football people do the work. He wants to be actively involved, and that's costing Everton, in my opinion. So I believe Everton are almost in the dark ages out there running, and they're way behind other elite sides in the Premier League. It doesn't look like it's going to change, and on that basis, I'd hope they just get a little bit lucky with whoever they appoint. Hopefully Ancelotti can win a trophy or two if he does come in the short term. But I guarantee 2 years, 3 years, we'll be in this transition phase, having to start all over again.
I've got a question. It sounds implausible, but hear me out. Do you think Ancelotti would take it on an eye-watering contract, no doubt, on a short-term basis?
No. I was speaking about it to my other mates, and they said, listen, let's get real here.
Other mates?
Other mates, yeah. We are the two.
One's his brother.
And the one's his dad. My dad, my brother. Yeah. No, I spoke about it, and he said, listen, the man's never been out the Champions League for like 15, 20 years on the spin. And as you alluded to before, Gav, he's dropping to sad as it is, mid-table team.
I don't want to cut you off, but what I will say is, I think people are over egging where Napoli are as a club. I think they've had regular Champions League football now, which has inflated their value, but Napoli aren't a particularly successful Italian side, certainly in the last 2 or 3 decades. You know, their glory days are still really probably when Maradona was there. Like
But they've been glory days.
But they've been regularly in the
I appreciate that, but I wouldn't say it's not like they're dropping from Bayern Munich, Real Madrid to Everton. There's somewhere in between those.
Well, like, if you're Carlo Ancelotti and you were offered the Everton job, would you take it?
Well, maybe I'm biased, but yeah, I would. Yeah,
if you're Ancelotti,
if Arsenal weren't interested,
well, I was just going to say,
Arsenal,
if Arsenal, or it pains me to say it because I don't think they're even in the same stratosphere as us, but West Ham, purely because I believe he loved living in London. He loved it, loves the capital, home in Mayfair. If West Ham or Arsenal come, and I believe David Ornstein, one of my colleagues, was saying that he's not really what Arsenal are after. Interestingly, it's not the profile of a coach.
Well, they want something similar, probably to Everton.
Yeah.
So, would West Ham come on the scene? As I say, no contest move between Everton and West Ham. It's Everton all day. But to a foreign coach, someone like, again, who's thinking, do I uproot and live in the Lowry in Manchester or in Cheshire, or do I plonk myself in London and say West Ham might be on a similar financial footing to Everton? They're already in their new stadium, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Do I go down that road? I don't know. He's of a generation, 60 odd. He might think back of West Ham of Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, just with talking about West Ham, I mentioned this today. Are we potentially seeing a future glimpse into Ancelotti and Everton with Pellegrini and West Ham? Because, similar managers who were successful going into ready-made clubs.
I don't think Pellegrini was successful as what they made out.
Well, he's done okay. I know Malaga were...
Malaga and Villarreal as well. I don't think he's in the same bracket. And to be honest, Gab, if you're Ancelotti, would you swap Mayfair for L4?
Hey! You just think that?
Probably.
That's what you get paid to pick
I think it offers attractions compared to West Ham, to be fair. But the London... As you know, with players, London is an enormous. It's like a magnet, isn't it? For people from abroad, So I mean, I think you'd be dangerous. It'd be dangerous for you to understate the impact of London. The two things to say as well. Ancelotti's already been sacked at Goodison once, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And the other thing is the concern I'd have with an Ancelotti appointment will be brands.
Which leads us on.
That would be the concern I'd have. About how would he feel about the club if they appointed Ancelotti? What
do you think Brands is looking for then? Do you think all of a sudden now Silva's been sacked, do you think he's looking for a young progressive manager that plays really attractive football, or do you think now, hang on, I've had a really stinker of a summer in terms of the transfer market, results aren't going well, I need to get results on the board straight away, I need someone with a good CV, maybe I have to bite the bullet here and rip it up?
Well, he was looking for the manager, which I know will come to in a minute. I mean, anecdotally, you would imagine that maybe Brands is not the person who's choosing the manager, is he?
Should it be Brands in your opinion?
Yeah, he's director of football, isn't he? Has to be. If he's at board level now as well, he has to be the person appointing the manager. I mean, my understanding is, from his another, his
another cliche.
Yeah. Is that younger player thing, bringing them through, buying them cheap, selling them for a profit, and that fits in with a younger progressive manager that we hope Silva would be. I don't think that expands to including Carlo Ancelotti, I'm afraid, but it's the power base within the club who's choosing the manager, isn't it? I just concerned if Ancelotti came in, I'm just wondering what Brands' reaction would be.
Greg, I think we're all in agreement that Marcel Brands should be picking the manager out there. Yeah. It seems to be, I think all Evertonians are saying the same, that not everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet at Everton at the moment in terms of the ballroom. When they're looking at this manager, it's not going to bow as well as it. They need to come to some kind of agreement, surely.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, as we've all said, David said it just earlier, everyone would let Marcel Brands get on with it and give him all the support he needs in terms of signing checks and, of course, as a board, discussing with the candidates, but let him lead the search, let him make the contacts, let him set up the meetings, let him draw up a shortlist, not operating, not saying isolation, but operate separately, because it just muddies the process, especially if you've got really influential agents feeding into the owner's ears, which is my concern about this process.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on Brands and Ancelotti, Brands came in at the same time as Silva. So I think Brands was very, very keen to keep Silva. He was reluctant to pull the trigger, and it was out of his hands in the end. I believe he was very disappointed how it worked out. Is he going to favour a younger, less senior type of manager / coach? Or if someone like Ancelotti, who's got a bigger profile than him in the game, he's older than him, he's achieved more than him, he's probably got more contacts than him, that's going to be a level of pushback.
It's power, isn't it?
Power, but it comes down to it. A level of power that overshadows him. I'm not saying it from an egotistical sense, I just mean in a functional, being the director of football. Is he going to want that?
Well, going back, if it was the chairman who selects, hypothetically speaking, if it's the chairman who selects Ancelotti, then Brands is stuck in the middle of the two of them then, isn't he?
Yeah.
So if Ancelotti's got a problem, who's the person he's going to go to? He's not going to be going to his director of football, is he?
But you're setting yourself up potentially for a Koeman-Walsh mark too. Which no one wants again, do you?
Have Everton got a problem here when it comes to picking this manager?
Yeah, listen, the last 2 or 3 weeks have been really alarming for me. I felt quite comfortable so far. Little things I ignored, like Mashiri getting on the telly, ringing up Jim White and stuff. I know we laugh about that voice that he made, but could you imagine, say, I don't know, John Henry ringing up Jim White? You couldn't. It's
but at the same time, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If you've pumped £500 million into a football club and had no return whatsoever, in fact you're a lot worse off. When it comes to the next managerial position, you're going to go, hang on, I'm going to have some kind of say in this. I've pumped all this money in here. Obviously fellas are making the wrong decisions. Can I have some kind of input here?
He might be, as I said. I don't know, but all I know is from what I'm seeing now, and okay, I'm no expert, but from what I'm seeing now, what Everton are doing is not a successful business model at all. I think the way the recruiting is wrong, the way the manager stuff's happening. Why bring Brands in if you're not going to let them come in and have full control and do the job? Because right now I'm not sure what Brands does, and that's not me criticising him. That's me, saying if whatever his role is, his hands must be tied. Like I'd love to have a conversation with him now off the record and find out exactly what he's thought over these past 6 months or whatever, right from the Zaha bit from Mashiri over the Z to everything that's gone on with the manager. It's a little bit concerning, put it that way.
Greg, do you think Brands looks at this now and going, I had the honeymoon periods with the first summer with Luca Dean, Richarlison, Bernard and all them, but do you think because of what's happened in the summer in terms of like the signings that weren't made, so to speak, I think there's now double added pressure on him, because Everton fans now, after lauding him as the god last summer, now this summer, and now they're going, hang on, you better bail us out here now, because you've had one stinker in the transfer market, now you better come up with a decent manager for us.
I think there is pressure, there's question marks over his suitability for the role for the first time, and inevitably there's pressure, whilst the pressure immediately falls on the coach / manager, like it has done with Koeman, it has done with Allardyce, and it has done with Silva. At some point it has to trickle upwards a little bit, doesn't it? But I do feel for him a little bit. I believe we're told from some quarters that he is actually integral in the manager search. He's been a key part of it. Again, without sort of sound like a broken record, I think he should be the sole part of it, not a part of it. But it's heartening to hear suggestions at least that he's not just completely sidelined. Take that, you know what I mean? Because the alternative is, like as David was painting out quite bleakly then, is that it's a bit of a car crash scenario. And my only concern, and we haven't mentioned him much because he's not going to be our next manager, so why would we harp on it? But the fact that it was close, I cannot for the life of me understand the thinking behind Vitor Pereira, and that was one of the most alarming things for me, that was allowed to get to the point where he was the number one candidate.
Worrying.
And it took possibly Everton being used and a little bit embarrassed for him to go and get a big fat contract with Shanghai, when all of a sudden before that he was going to walk in, a coach who to all intents and purposes has pretty much failed in his more recent jobs. He's had bits and pieces, and don't get me wrong, he did alright in Portugal, although he inherited a lot from AVB. He did all right in China in his first season. He won the title there. I'm not sure what the standard is like there. And I think he went down from the second to third tier in Germany. disastrous. His style of football, possession based, passing,
just
playing out from the back. It was just like.
I drilled down his numbers, like doing the line numbers.
I love that. Drilled down his numbers. This is like being back to school.
This is what gets me off, guys. No, I genuinely had a look, and I was afterwards. I spent only about half an hour, and I just thought I couldn't find one positive. I literally couldn't.
Really?
All I could say was he won the title, but it was with Shanghai, and I was like,
I bet his agent could
they're
find a positive about him.
They're the ones who obviously paid however much it is for Hulk and got him on the super contract. Oscar, who was at Chelsea, remember him? He's there as well.
Yeah.
So they've got a ton of money as well. It was just a terrible move.
He got interviewed by us in 2013.
He did. He did. I made a good impression.
The other thing I'd say about Brands here, that I would say like he should be choosing a manager. You know, what shouldn't happen then is Brands just turns up at the board one day and says, "Oh, such and such is next manager." He has to take that to the board for the board to agree and Shady to agree.
That's good to have a board, isn't it?
The governance around it. When we say he should select a manager, he selects it and then takes it to the board for them to rubber stamp on behalf of the club. He can't declare UDI and go on his own at this.
Before we go into the final part of the pod, obviously Manchester United on Sunday, us four on the Everton board, we've got a decision to make. Out of them names we've also mentioned on tonight's podcast, Gav, you can have first tabs. Who are you picking as the next Everton manager?
Who at once or who I'm picking are two completely different things, aren't they?
Well, realistically,
you don't have to stick to it.
You don't have to stick to the bookies. Who would you go for right now?
I think the fella who's at Valencia, Marcelino. I think he'd be a great shout.
Gavin Buckland goes Marcelino. Greg O'Keefe.
Can I have anyone?
Anyone.
Marco Rose.
Yeah, he'd be a fan. The only thing is with Rose now, I think Mönchengladbach, he only went there in the summer, and now they're top of the league, just beat Bayern Munich on Saturday. He won't go anywhere.
No, it's a bit silly, isn't it?
No, he'd be a great choice.
Be good shot realistically.
Yeah. Realism. Why does that have to come into the mix? Carlo Ancelotti.
I'm in agreement. I think realistically, at the moment, I think Carlo Ancelotti. Just on the basis of that, I think there's a lot of Everton players in that dressing room at the moment that all of a sudden gain respect for Duncan Ferguson and literally wore the heart on the sleeve, and they haven't done that. Every manager that's walked in Everton over the last 4 or 5 years, they haven't got the respect from the players. They haven't got it. You've done nothing. Silva's won nothing. Martinez won an FA Cup, but also relegated them.
Koeman's track record was
as a manager, it was patchy. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Is all of a sudden they need someone who they can go, wow. They've got to respect someone. Allardyce they didn't respect, and all these. So when Ferguson come in, these players they were not hiding to nothing because they couldn't get out of it. If these weren't performing for Duncan Ferguson, fingers would have been pointed at these, because some of the attitudes in that dressing room have been disgusting over the last 3 or 4 years. How they can chuck it in for one manager and then pull it in for another one. So I think if a big manager with a big CV all of a sudden gets the respect for the players, so I think Carlo Ancelotti.
Who's his name?
Come on.
I've said it before, I wrote tweets about actually, but I really like Adi Hütter, at Frankfurt. Who's I think you look at Frankfurt recently. He went in last summer. They finished 4 points off the Champions League places in Bundesliga last year. Really unlucky. Obviously, they got to the Europa League semi-final and got knocked out on penalties to Chelsea. Very similar to Rose in the way he plays, like high tempo, pressing and stuff. I think he'd be really good. I haven't heard his name mentioned, so it's impossible, I guess. But I'd probably have to go realistically off that list, Ancelotti.
Can I just throw one in? I don't understand why people aren't. Maybe it's because he's not interested. But if we're talking realism, Chris Wilder. Why aren't we talking?
I have said about Chris Wilder, but 2 things. One, I don't think he come at the moment because what he's doing at Sheffield United.
I agree, actually, yeah.
And 2, apparently he doesn't work under the director of football.
Oh really?
Yeah, there's only him and
the modern Moyes.
There's only him and one other club I think who don't in the Premier League at the moment. Sheffield United, one other club, can't remember who it is, but he doesn't work under one. But I think he'd be a great sign.
I think he'd be a great sign.
Yeah.
He'd be a great manager. I excluded him on the basis that he's not available.
Yeah.
But he'd be tremendous.
Just to clarify, people who don't know, he plays good stuff as well. He's not just a hoof Route 1 manager.
You know what? I think he's a good manager, but not for this conversation. Is Potter.
I thought you were going to say
that. Yeah, he'll do well. Yeah,
I think he's a really good manager.
He's like what you'd probably say about a legacy manager. Like he's building something that.
He'll manage. You know, all due respect to Brighton, you know, a bigger club. I think at some point, I think he's a top manager. Yeah.
Interesting indeed. Well, we've got a game on Sunday, by the way. Talked enough off the pitch. Let's talk about on it. Greg, Man United, Everton, obviously, impressed him away from Big Dunk. Would you take a point right now, or they to be got at? I know they've been picked up of late, but there's some teams gone to Old Trafford this season and took points. So why not Everton?
Yeah, completely. I think, like I said earlier, I think sort of the odds are stacked against us a little bit, because what Dunk fed off was the initial bounce of 2 days after the manager goes. Less than 2 days after the manager goes. Sorry, the factor of we need to pull our tripe out here. We need to reconnect with the fans, and you've got a 40,000 full house Goodison Park right behind you, and you lead by example. Now I know they've had 2 days off at the start of the week, and they've had a chance to rest, recuperate a bit. But I'm not sure you can replicate that performance at Old Trafford on the size of the pitch, the physical intensity, the 37 tackles. And I'm not sure that United, having had the chance to see that, don't find a way to play through that. I know Chelsea, Lampard said they were expecting it, but I don't think they were actually expecting it to that level of intensity. So it'd be interesting to see if Dunk is able to show a plan B, if you like. I know it's only short term, wouldn't judge him either way, but show a little bit more sophistication and nuance. Okay, we've tried this, we'll still do this, and if it's not working, we'll try this. Because I said earlier that, and they are resurgent a bit, United, but they're still, as you introduced this segment, they're there to be got at. Having said that, again, our injury crisis is awful, isn't it, at the moment? You're putting out a midfield just barely in terms of like Schneiderlin and Sigurdsson. It was amazing that we got that result in so many ways against Chelsea, wasn't it? The legs and youth and pace they've got. So a lot of factors against us, and to answer your question, I would take a point now.
David, briefly, have Everton got what it takes on the back of that performance last week?
I'm going to surprise us all here. I fancy Everton this one.
That's right. Come on.
I obviously write a lot about United for the MEN. So I write about them every day, really, because obviously they're a big side that we cover. And United, that their 2 results last week didn't surprise me. United always do well under Solskjaer. They do well in these games because they're set up to be a counter-attacking side, but they struggle big time, especially at home, to break sides down. So if Everton replicate the tactics from last week, I think they will get chances. I think, despite our defensive record, Everton are actually hard to. It's very rarely. Take the derby out the way. Teams don't tend to score a lot against Everton because they're not actually bad defensively. It's just when they do, I've said this before, concede chances, they tend to be clear-cut ones, but you don't get bombarded Everton's goal on 9 times out of 10. So, in short, I fancy Everton. I think they'll struggle to break Everton down because they haven't got the players to do so, and we'll be able to hit them a few times on the counter. It's just all about taking those chances when you get them.
Prediction. Right. We did on Saturday, didn't we?
Yeah. Prediction then?
I'm going to go. Me head says 1-1, but I'm going to go for the pod 2-1 Everton.
2-1 Everton. I'll go 2-2.
1-1.
1-1
Do I get a few on the game? Or
of course you can. Come on, fire away.
Come on. I bet David's written in the Manchester Evening News why Man United have beat Everton on Sunday.
You saw that one, yeah.
You've got to get back on votes. Come on, what time's time?
I think I'm with Dave on this because, like, United have done well against the bigger teams where they've got space to play in. I think if you sit deep and don't give them space in around the box, I think they struggle a lot more, and I think you'll still have a different challenge off us. I think you see a slightly different game what he did on Saturday. I'm just wondering whether he might put Davison on Sunday instead of Sigurdsson.
Sigurdsson,
yeah, definitely.
I think eminently capable of getting the results. Duncan always used to play well at Old Trafford because they always used to score a few goals there. And there was quite a lot. Someone was saying on social media about a few United fans actually thinking Duncan Ferguson's coming to Old Trafford because he's got a reputation within the game, hasn't he? By he's a big personality. He's physically, if physically imposing. If you're an opposition team and you're just seeing him striding into Old Trafford on Sunday, he's sort of made for that environment,
of course,
isn't he? You know?
And that rubs off as well.
I think that on the players.
Yeah.
So eminently capable of getting the results, and I could see us drawing or winning. That's how we get beat, but my default one is 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, when in doubt.
Just say on the back of that, if I could turn back time. Who's that play? If I could turn.
Share.
Yeah, that's it.
On that
note, on that bombshot, I wish you'd been in charge for the derby. I really do.
Down at Anfield, did the cup game?
No. Well, the one before Silver got the boost.
Well, I sent my other two mates a text yesterday. He said, "Do you know what? Obviously, next week is the Leicester game. Imagine the thought of we were to beat Leicester next week in that cup game, semi-final over 2 legs. Imagine the thought of Duncan Ferguson leading the Everton team out at Wembley in a cup final.
Yeah, or 3 games.
Tear to the eye stuff, isn't it? Tear to the eye stuff. And we'll leave it on that. Yeah. Definitely, indeed. We'll be back next week to record our last podcast of the year. Hopefully 3 points at Old Trafford and a place in the semi-final. Thanks for tuning in.